My name is Chet Fairby, and I own a farm in Terrell County. And I want to also thank you, Gordon, for passing those two resolutions. I know it was controversial, but it was something that needed to be done. It's something that had to be done, and I personally, I thank you. This thing's about a lot more than sport hunting of coyotes. This is about laws. This is about commitments that U.S. Fish and Wildlife made to citizens in those 5 counties almost 30 years ago. This is about abiding by rules. It's about saving our wildlife down there. It's not about sport hunting coyotes. And so, Gordon, my position on this is, I know y'all tried and thought y'all doing the right thing, doing the settlement agreement. I'm a landowner, and I'm fine with walking away from this settlement. As a matter of fact, I'm going to push to a 10-letter rule, these permanent rules. And I don't know if I'm speaking for everybody, but I'm telling you, for me, I'm just fine with walking away from that settlement and not settling with anyone on this issue. It's that big of an issue. Amen. With that said, a lot of things have changed since y'all did what y'all thought. Y'all thought we wanted to be able to shoot a coyote in the daytime. I understand that, and I appreciate it. But a lot of things have changed since then. So I'm going to try not to rehash everything I brought at all the other meetings, but this right here, this is a 1972 map that the Department of Interior had commissioned by their wildlife biologist. They were commissioned to determine the historic range of the red wolf in the United States. I don't think anybody sees that North Carolina is part of this historic range here. So with that in mind, an experimental population of animals cannot be introduced outside of their historical range. Also, the North Carolina statutes, Article 25 states specifically that we cannot list non-native animals as a threatened species in North Carolina. That was information y'all didn't have before. When I talk about laws and commitments, in 1986, Fish and Wildlife had the same public hearings just like this. They came down there and said, we're going to do A, B, C. And they walked right out there and they did X, Y, Z. U.S. Fish and Wildlife released 64 out of 132 of their wolves on private land. Now, keep in mind, they did this when 50 CFR Part 17 of the 1995 Rules Revision stated that the service will make every effort, excuse me, it's 1986. The service will make every effort to keep red wolves on the refuge, but if an animal leaves the refuge or bombing range, the service intends to capture it and return it to captivity. What did they do? They released 64, almost half of their red wolves, on private land and made no efforts to come pick them up. That's why I'm here tonight. That's why I started this battle 2 years ago. I begged and begged and begged for 10 years for them to come get their wolves off my farm because they had destroyed my farm. I had a pack of 21 living on my farm, and I had no wildlife left. So to answer what you spoke about, we should do everything we can to save this wolf. Y'all tried it. You sure did, buddy. You broke the law. Y'all did everything. I kept pushing Fish and Wildlife about, did y'all release these wolves on private land? Then through FOIA requests, I was able to document that they released over half of them on private land. I then said, well, how does that happen? What happens when a federal agency breaks the law and does not try to make it right? If I broke the law, first thing I do is walk out there and try to fix it somehow, some way. They took it to their solicitors and said, According to the 1986 and 1995 final rules published by the Federal Register, the service was to introduce wolves on federal lands only. Through the years, it looks like red wolves also have been introduced onto private lands. There are data on wolves being released onto private and federal lands. Given the service's statements in the final rules regarding the establishment of wolves on federal land and the relaxed regulations for private landowners under the 10J rules, does the service have authority to release wolves directly onto private land? The solicitor's response, no. Although the rules acknowledge that landowners may assent to wolves using their land, they neither contemplate nor provide the authority for the direct release of wolves onto private lands. That's why we're here tonight. They can want wolves all they want to. I've just asked for people to abide by the laws. In 1995, it says, although some expressed concern about the effect of red wolves on activities on private land, the service assured them that because free-ranging wolves were legally classified as members of an experimental, non-essential population, the wolves would not negatively impact legal activities on private or federal land. So, you know, here we are, we're sitting there, we just got sued to eliminate coyote hunting on all of our farms. Service assured us wouldn't negatively impact anything. I mean, if Judge Bull had really looked at that, I don't think we'd be sitting here tonight. 60 out of the 64 illegally shot red wolves were shot on private land. The other 4 wolves were found in the Department of Transportation right away with a bullet hole through them. If those wolves had been trapped and taken back to the refuge like they promised the landowners in these counties, they wouldn't be dead now. Fish and Wildlife is the one that ought to be being sued, not y'all. You're just trying to do what's right for the wolf. They're the ones that said, hey, we're going to put them on our land, we're going to keep them on our land. No. What they did, they went out there and released them on the private land and then would not put them back there. They ended up shot. I don't think they got shot because they were mistaken as a coyote. Probably the coyote getting shot was a mistake. At what point, I mean, you're just making outlaws out of good citizens. We've asked to have the wolves removed from our land. We were promised they wouldn't be on our land. We were promised they wouldn't impact our land in any way. They promised A, B, C. They gave us X, Y, Z. And we're mad, and we're not going away. And we'll go right into court with you. I guess I keep reading where Sierra Weaver, I guess she's one of your associates, keeps coming back and talking about what a great success this program has been. Well, let me tell you, it started 30 years ago, almost 30 years ago, and over $30 million. This is Dare County. This is a map of Dare County. This is taken right off of the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service website. In Dare County, they released the first 4 breeding pairs of red wolves in Dare County. They put a total of 58 out of the 132 wolves into Dare County. That's 44% of all the wolves were released into Dare County. 30 years later, they have 1 wolf pair in all of Dare County. The black one is a hybrid pair. Now that's federal land, that's adaptive management, that is what they call Zone 1. They did it Zone 1, 2, 3 adaptive management, and so they're going to tell you that their adaptive management works and this program is a giant success. There you go, that's their information. 44% of wolves released in Dare County, 30 years of work, $30 million worth of work. they have one red wolf pair. The breeding pairs, they started with 4. They went up to 21 breeding pairs, and then they immediately dropped to 7. I think they're down to 6 maybe now, breeding pairs. That's just 2 more breeding pairs of what they started with 30 years ago. It has not been a success. They can do all of their press releases they want. Here's the data. They can't walk away from that data. There are no coyotes in, well, it's the most management intensive thing about coyotes. Now this is what I'm missing on Dare County, I'm sorry. 2 illegal gunshot deaths. There were 72 illegal documented gunshot deaths in the 5 counties. Only 2 of them occurred in Dare County. 2. Yet 44% of the wolves were released there, and now they got 1 pair. So don't let them tell you that these illegal gunshots are your fault or that they're causing the wolf population to decline. The wolf population decline was absolutely predicted in 1999 by the Red Wolf Recovery Implementation Team. They said if you cannot control coyotes breeding with wolves, then you are going to have a dramatic decline in the breeding pairs of red wolves, and they predicted this decline almost to the breeding pair of wolves. Gordon, before we're done, can you explain to people the 10-letter rules and some important dates that we need to be aware of? And thank you for your time.
Yes, I will. I'll go into that.